Rod Dandy Golf here. Will I be man enough to have graphite shafts in my irons? Let's find out. I'm going to test some and see what I think. Why am I holding this bag of chips? This snack size bag of chips represents the difference in weight between a 120 gram steel shaft and a 90 gram graphite shaft. This is hardly weighs anything. A lot of people put a lot of stock in that 30 gram differential. Now, it can make a difference, especially when you're swinging at 70, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour, whatever it may be. This little amount of weight can make a difference. But I have always used steel shafts. The reason I'm checking into these graphite shafts, I have experienced arm pain and elbow pain, which I never have experienced before, especially here, like along my forearm. So I'm thinking it has something to do with the steel shafts. I can feel it at impact. It goes right up into the arm. The one thing about steel shafts that's really good, there's a lot of feedback there. The reason there's a lot of feedback is you get a lot of vibration, but that vibration can cause some elbow and arm discomfort with repetitive use. So I'm scoping out some graphite shafts. Now, the shafts that I've used for a while are KBS, Money Taper 120, just a stiff steel shaft. When I was younger, just pretty much always played the Dynamic Gold S300. So I'm very used to the steel shaft type feel. And of course, it's very good. Now, I'm going to hit a couple just with this. This is just the shaft I've been using for quite a while. This has been a good fit for me. I've really liked it. And when I swing this shaft, it's very solid. It's not, doesn't feel like a telephone pole. There's good feedback. I can tell where I hit it on the face. And I'm very used to the steel shaft. So I'm thinking dropping down to 90, 100 grams is going to be a big difference. But I've got a few clubs that I'm going to check out. I'm going to hit them into the net, and I'm going to take them out to the course and see what I think about them on the course as well. All right, the first one I got up here is the Mitsubishi MMT 105 TX Flex. This is their stiffest flex that they have. Now, the actual weight of this shaft is between 110 and like 118 grams. It's a little heavier than the stated 105 that it has on the shaft, and I'll show a screenshot here. Now, I've tried their 95 stiff in one of my utility irons, but I'm curious on what this feels like. I'm just going to hit a couple. Initial thoughts on it. Is it too stiff? Is there enough feedback? Things like that. The one thing I notice, there's a little different girth in the look of the graphite shaft versus the steel. That's just one thing aesthetically that I do notice. I think maybe on the waggle, when you have this in your hands, you might notice just a tiny bit of difference. Again, we're talking about less than a snack size bag of chips difference in weight. So you can tell something, but I don't want to overemphasize it. So this is the MMT 105 TX, and let's see how this feels. Okay, really solid. In my estimation, on that first hit there, this shaft gives nothing away to steel. I felt the hit. It was solid. It was solid. Didn't feel like a telephone pole. Wasn't whippy or anything like that. Felt very nice. Again, that feels good. Maybe could feel just a little kick down here in the tip portion of the shaft, but this feels nice. This is not giving up anything, I feel, in my initial hit into the net here to the steel shaft. So this is the MMT 105 TX. All right, the one I got next here is the MMT 95 Stiff Flex. So this drops under that 100 gram in shaft weight. So this would be regarded as definitely getting to be a lighter weight graphite shaft. I know you can get 50, 60, 70, things like that. But for people that are moving from steel, dropping under 100 is generally portrayed as a bigger deal. So this is just the Stiff Flex 95. So again, a little bit thinner look as far as the shaft profile itself. A little lighter feel on the waggle. Let's see how this feels striking it into the net. Smooth. That's the word I would use on that. It's not whippy. It stands up to the swing. It feels smooth. Again, smooth. I think one thing that I notice a little bit initially with both of these shafts is that the feel into the hands is a little deader. There's not as much feedback. That's probably from that vibration dampening properties of graphite shafts. That's just one thing I noticed. You're going to get used to pretty much anything that you use, but I do notice that a little bit. There's not quite as much feedback into the hands and up the arm, which graphite can be a little easier on the body, so it's doing what it's supposed to. Now, everyone is different. Everyone likes different things. Everyone has a different swing. Just relaying my experiences here testing out these graphite shafts. So this feels pretty good. Again, with both of these MMT shafts, I would say there's not as much feel up into the hands. It's a little bit more of a deader feel off the fades. Doesn't feel bad. It's one I could get used to, I'm sure, but just a little different feel than steel. Third option I got here, this is the KBS TGI Tour Graphite Iron 90. Now, I emailed KBS directly to tell them that I'd use the KBS Money Taper 120s. Which graphite shaft would they recommend? They recommended this one. Now, I don't care if they recommended that. I'm going to take it into my net, out onto the course, and see if I like it. Do I actually like this product? Doesn't matter what someone tells me I need. I'm the one using the club, so are you. Test it out on the course, test it out on the driving range, see if you actually like it. Okay, TGI. First impressions, again, a little lighter on the waggle. Smooth, no complaints. This is not whippy. It's not a telephone pole. It has some feedback. Let's hit one more. Now that felt really smooth, that one. I could really get used to that feel. Now I want to see how these perform out on the course. Of course, into a net, I don't see the ball flight. I can see the launch angle just a little bit, but I want to see how high these go. I want to see how the dispersion is, if they're left, right, or if they're fairly straight. So I want to see how these perform on the course. But initially, from what I can tell into the net here, these graphite shafts, they hold up. They are perfectly fine. I don't have insanely high swing speed or anything like that, but I can tell putting a good swing on these are more than adequate. They hold up to the swing. So I'm excited to take them out to the course and try them out. All right, and just for fun, this is a club that I had probably when I was a teenager. This is an old Mizuno blade. This is a Dynamic Gold S300. Pretty much I always just use S300. Let's just see how this feels just for fun. It definitely feels heavier. There's no doubt. That S300 shaft, it's definitely hittable, but definitely feels a little heavier. So let's keep scoping out these graphite shafts versus steel, and we'll go from there. I am excited. Finally made it out to the course to test out the graphite shafts and the irons. Have always used steel shafts. I'm very curious how these perform on the course. So I've just used a KBS Money Taper 120, like a stiff steel shaft, 120 grams, and it has been a good shaft for me. But like I said, I've been experiencing a lot of arm discomfort. So I'm very curious to try out some graphite shafts in the irons. Now, this is not a super scientific analysis. I don't care if it's 300 RPMs of spin more than I would need in a perfect fitting or anything like that. I just want to know, do they perform the way I'd like them to out on the golf course? Is the flight controllable? Does the hit feel good? Does the strike feel good? Do they have good feedback? So again, this is just my standard steel shaft that I've used. I've been very pleased with this shaft, but like I said, had more arm discomfort than ever before. So this is just a really solid feeling shaft for me. I've really liked this. So I have a few different ones that I already hit into the net. We got them out on the course now. This is the MMT 105 TX Flex. This is their stiffest flex that they have. I'm hitting all these in 6, 7, and 8 irons. That's what I'm testing out. So this is the TX Flex and the MMT. Okay. Initial thoughts, that feels really solid. Maybe just a little kick down here in the tip area, but that feels solid. That's not whippy. It's not noodly. Again, we're not talking a huge weight differential. I know a lot is made when you drop under 100 grams. This one is still between 110 and 118, I believe, the specs right on the Mitsubishi website. But this feels solid. Doesn't give anything up. Flight looked pretty good. Pretty happy with it. Yeah. That is a nice feeling. That's a nice feeling. I could see myself using that. It does not feel like a telephone pole, even though it's a TX Flex. Like I said, I don't have crazy high swing speed. It does not feel like a telephone pole, though. It's very swingable. Still has got some good weight to it. So pretty pleased with that one. This is the MMT 95 Stiff Flex. So a little lighter, and it's down a flex as well. It's not the TX, just the stiff. This does feel lighter on the waggle. Very small difference, but just a little lighter feeling. Again, very solid, very playable, not a noodle, nice ball flight. Maybe just a little higher ball flight on that, possibly. I have KBS shafts, so I'm excited to try this one, the KBS TGI 90. Now, this is in an 8 iron. Curious to see how this performs. Very smooth feeling. Not too light, not noodly. It does feel lighter on the waggle, I would say. But that felt really smooth. Maybe a little more kick down here. The ball flight is pretty straight though. It's not flying all over the place. Yeah, these are very playable. I mean, they're not shooting way in the air. They're not super spinny. They're controllable. I'm very impressed. I'm excited to keep testing these out. Would love to hear from you. Like I said, this is my experiment with graphite shafts in my irons. I've never had that before. Would love to hear from you in the comments. If you've switched to graphite, if it's helped any of your arm or elbow pain, would love to hear from you in the comments below. If you like this type of thing, I love tinkering on the course and love tinkering with different equipment. Hit like, hit subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much.